Okay, here we go. Let's simulate a basketball tournament. Here are a few of the topics that I hope the students will become more familiar with. And my goal really here is I'm going to simulate the Pac-12 basketball tournament in 2023. But my goal is that you guys will be able to use this technique to simulate any tournament in the future. Okay, I'm going to give you the tools to do that. Also, we're going to simulate a conference tournament, which is a much smaller tournament in this project. And then a week from now, we will use somebody else's work, somebody who's going to simulate the March Madness tournament, the much bigger tournament, and we're going to build upon that work next week. So this is going to be kind of a prequel to next week's lesson, which will deal directly with the March Madness tournament. The first thing that I want to explain to you guys is what we call a simple rating system. And it's a mathematical model that can be developed to rate basketball teams according to their performance. And the nice thing about the SRS, the simple rating system, is that it's very easy to understand. The number that a team gets is simply how many points better, if it's positive, or worse, if it's negative, that team is compared to an average college basketball team. Okay, so if your team has an SRS of 10, it means that you are 10 points better than an average Division I basketball team. If your team is a -2 in SRS, that means that they are 2 points worse than average. Okay, and of course, if you're a 0, it means you are an average college basketball team. Okay, now the nice thing is that we can use somebody else's work here. We don't need to develop this model on our own. Okay, this wonderful free data resource, College Basketball Reference. Okay, I can click on any one of these. Here's the SEC, a different conference, and I scroll down and it's got all the teams here in 2023, and we've got their SRS. Okay, South Carolina looks like they're the worst team in the SEC this year. They're 1.9 points worse than the average college basketball team. And here's Alabama, 23.7 points better than average. Okay, so a year from now, you can click this link and look up any conference that you want, and it's going to give you the simple rating systems. Okay, so we're relying on some other people's work here, and I'm very grateful for the work of College Basketball Reference. Now, here's a link which goes to a Google Sheet here, and I've given you guys access to this. You can make a copy of this, and you can see down here it's two sheets. The first one is a bracket, okay, that I made for this year's Pac-12 tournament. You can see UCLA is the number 1 seed. I put in their SRS right here. They are 22.7. They've got a bye in the first round. Here are some teams that have to play a first round game, and we've got their SRS as well. Okay, I can scroll down. Oregon, USC both got byes, as did Arizona. Okay. The next sheet, I just downloaded this from College Basketball Reference and put it in here. I think I forgot to show you guys that. If I go back to College Basketball Reference, a beautiful thing about this, not only is this data free, but they make it very easy to download. If I click on this right here, get as an Excel workbook, okay, you can see it just downloaded to my downloads folder as an XLS file, which can be opened in Excel, Google Sheets, pretty much any data processing program. Okay, so that's very nice. All right. So I'm going to start by focusing on one game in this tournament, the Colorado versus Washington game. It's kind of interesting. Washington is the better seed here, even though their SRS is a little bit lower. So in this game, according to the SRS, Colorado is actually favored. Now, Colorado is 12.2 points better than average. Washington is 7.4 points better than average. So Colorado is the better team here. But how many points do you think Colorado is favored by? Well, if we do 12.2 minus 7.4, we get 4.8. Okay? On paper, Colorado is about 5 points better than Washington. And this graph down here, I'm starting to build what we call a probability distribution. Okay, on the horizontal axis, I've got Colorado's margin of victory, and the height of each bar represents the probability of that outcome. Now, right now, I've only drawn in one bar here. Okay, this is going to be my tallest bar because a 5-point margin of victory is the most likely outcome. But it's certainly not the only possible outcome. The next two most likely outcomes would be a Colorado win of 4 points or a Colorado win of 6 points. You can see I made those bars a little bit shorter because they are a little bit less likely. Okay, and indeed, if we fill this out further, we're going to get something that looks like this. Now, I kind of ran out of room here, all right, but these tails should go out much, much further, okay, 30, 40 points even, all right, because that's possible. We could see one team win this game by 30 or 40 points. Now, as mathematicians, we will often represent a distribution like this with what we call a normal curve, a normal distribution, and I've sketched it in blue here. Okay, and a normal distribution is perfectly defined by two numbers. Okay, the mean, which in this case is 4.8 or 5, because that's the most likely outcome, and then the standard deviation describes the spread of the distribution. Okay, and I'm not going to dive into this too much, but for college basketball games, the standard deviation that we use is 12. All right, and we're going to use that in this game. We're going to use that in all future games. Now, what we want to do is simulate the game here. Okay, and the way that we're going to simulate it is by choosing a random number from this distribution. A positive number will mean the favored team, Colorado in this case, wins the game. And a negative number would mean the underdog wins the game. There are lots of ways to generate a random number. I'm going to recommend this website right here. Okay? All we need to do is put in the mean, which is 4.8. Okay? The standard deviation is 12. We only want one number here. And we're going to go with 0 decimal places since you can't win a game by 1.2 points, right? We just want whole numbers here. All right, I press this green button, generate, and a number is going to pop up here. And that number is going to represent Colorado's margin of victory, the favored team's margin of victory. In this case, it came up 6. Okay, what that means is that Colorado won this game by 6 points. Okay, now, what I could do, and what I would encourage you guys to do, is go back and we're going to use this to update our brackets. Okay, in this case, Colorado won by 6. Okay, and the winner of this game, I'm putting in as Colorado. Okay, and we know that their SRS is 12.2. Next thing I could do now is simulate the next game, UCLA versus Colorado. Now, UCLA is going to be favored in this game. Okay, they're going to be favored by, looks like 10.5 points. Okay, so to simulate this, I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to go back, and this time my normal distribution will have a mean of 10.5. The difference in these two scores is 10.5. Okay, and the standard deviation, again, will be 12 points. Okay, and I could go back to our random number simulator, 10.5, 12. I hit go. Okay, and the favored team, UCLA, won this game by 14 points. All right, and you can see how you can go through and simulate this entire bracket. Okay, and once we've done that, okay, you will have your winner. Okay, the team that won your bracket. And that's fun and it's interesting, but really the power of this process comes when we repeat it many times, okay? Hopefully you've got some classmates there, and if you guys all simulate this tournament and then combine your results, you'll be able to see, geez, maybe UCLA won this tournament 5 out of our 25 simulations, okay? And that would give us a way to estimate their probability of winning this tournament. 5/25 is 20%, so their win probability would be 20%. Okay. Now the real value comes if we write a program to do this, and then we can simulate this thing, say, 10,000 times or even more. All right. And indeed, that is what we're going to do when we get to the March Madness tournament next week. I hope you guys have fun doing this, and I look forward to talking to you next week.